Hello and welcome to After Hours, brought to you by the Emory Hotel, the home of Horology in London.
A place where we truly celebrate the art of time well spent. Joining me is none other than the brilliant author, historian and journalist, Nick Haute. Together we'll be sharing the heady cocktail of all the things we love most about the watch world. Tune in as we unveil the rock stars of Haute Horology, one-of-a-kind watch designs, an exclusive window into the world of watchmaking.
I have one of the nicest women in the industry here, nicest people in the industry here,
Yes.
actually, and a very old friend of mine. Not a very old friend, but a friend over many years, Caroline Scheufele. And we have George Bamford, the co-host. That's him. He hasn't said a word yet so far.
Oh, sorry, Nick. How can I get a word in the edgeways?
Well, I'm going to drink my coffee while you speak.
Okay. Well, firstly, thank you so much for coming. It is a true honour, and our first lady in the hot seat of some degree. So thank you so much for coming in and talking to us.
George, that was fantastic. I love that. That was brilliant. That was brilliant. You're almost like a professional.
I'm trying my best,
But
Nick.
Caroline is brilliant. She has made this amazing high jewellery business out of nothing. And she has bought the Cannes Film Festival 25 years ago when it was turned down by another major brand whose name we must not mention.
27.
27 years. 27 years.
This year was my 27th.
So it's 27 years of you at Cannes and 27 years of L.U.C.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That is absolutely amazing.
Because the L.U.C is the work of, you name it, Carl Friedrich Scheufele.
Yeah. So
The man who hates selling nice watches.
Really.
But he always tries to keep them out of the public eye.
well, yes, the L.U.C is an amazing watch, but also the Cannes Film Festival. I never knew that.
Yes.
And I mean, you know, Nick, I love that you bring these wonderful, what was I say?
Facts.
Facts.
It's
Exactly.
a rare thing, facts.
True facts of coming into the Cannes Film Festival. Is that?
But tell us about that story.
Vision.
Because you redesigned the trophy as well, and I think of it every time I see you, and every time I see it now.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of cinema in general, and some 27 years back we opened a boutique in Cannes. And for me, in my head, I said we should open during the film festival because obviously there will be celebrities, actors, actresses. And then, but I didn't want to arrive on the sideline, so I went to meet the organizers in Paris, and I had done a bit of my homework. So the year before, there was a big brand celebrating the 50th anniversary with the festival, but they only did one evening, and I went to meet the president, a very charming French gentleman called Pierre Viau, and we were talking, and I said I would like to make an official evening, and he said, sure, and you can talk to our partners, L'Oréal or Canal Plus. I said, partners, we have partners. What about watches and jewelry? No, we don't have anybody. So my head started working, and that's how it started. And then in his office, it was a very old French building and a very beautiful building. In the bibliothèque, there was the palm, and I said, "This is the real palm," and he said, "Yes." They put it in front of me. I said, "Ah." He says, "Yeah, we were thinking of maybe giving it a facelift." And I said, "You know, my real job is not organizing dinners and events. My real job is design."
Although you wouldn't know it, you do it beautifully, I have to say. You organize events and dinners beautifully.
Yeah.
But anyway, carry on with the story.
So I said, could I make you some proposals how this palm could be a little bit more elegant, more glamorous, more elegant. And a bit more, it was flat, it was a flat palm leaf, it was not very aesthetic. He said, sure. So I basically left his office with the palm under my arm,
My goodness.
back to the office in Geneva, and I stormed into my brother's office and I said, I'm going to redesign the Palme d'Or. And he said, you must be absolutely mad.
Which is great.
So that's it. And here I am 27 years later.
27 years later. I mean, this has been a big part of, I mean, could you tell me about also the way your parents bought the brand? They came to Geneva, didn't they, to buy, I mean, this is a great story. They went through the phone book, didn't they?
Well, my father was, I'm from watchmaking in Germany, first generation, but my dad, very young, when he was 23, he said, and his father had passed away, he said, luxury watches come from Switzerland. So he was looking for a brand that would be on sale. And this Monsieur Chopard would never answer the phone. And then on a Sunday, he told the gentleman who showed him around Geneva, he said, let's try again to call this Monsieur Chopard. So they went in the phone booth, because obviously there was no mobile phones, with 20 centimes, and called, and then there was Chopard, bonjour. And my father said, this is Mr. Scheufele, bonjour. Why you never answer the phone? He said, well, because I'm repairing my watches.
Oh.
So he bought the name of Chopard in half a day.
Wow.
Yes, it was done with a handshake rather than the sort of
Yeah.
the army of lawyers and accountants and due diligence and all of that. I mean, I love those stories because they are in danger of being forgotten, I think, if they're not sort of made in public. Because also you're very modest about what you do. You just do it. So tell us a bit about how the high jewelry business has been built, and then we'll look at the watches.
This is a high jewelry watch, a unique piece that is part of the red carpet collection that is launched every year in Cannes. So it has 2 Mozambique rubies, each one 4.5 carats, and they are absolutely clean. They're not heated, and it's one I thought I brought.
How many pieces are there in the high jewelry Cannes?
77. This year was 77.
Next year 78.
Next year 78.
Yes,
Always in line with the years of the festival.
But it looks like a vertebrae, or it looks like gills of a fish holding the diamonds. When you look on the side,
the setting is quite
unreal.
Talk us through the setting, because I mean, I'm only a watch lover, so I don't really understand jewelry very well. So maybe you could just talk me through why this is the setting and
setting. First of all,
because it's all every one of those prongs is different.
Yeah, everyone is different because it has a more handcrafted touch, because a lot of things are set with machines.
Yeah.
And here actually it's not. It's really artisan setting, and as we work with sustainable and ethical gold, I always tell the atelier, please use as little gold as possible. So you basically don't see the gold.
Yeah.
You only see the diamonds. That's the beauty.
If you use less gold, you have to use more diamonds then, I suppose.
And when you do the test,
yes,
the stocking test,
yes,
they should not break.
The stocking test is brilliant.
So when you touch here, there's nothing that scratches.
So just to rub on.
That's very important here.
So do you do that quite a few times when you get?
Everything goes through my hands, and I had a couple of stockings broken. So.
Oh, but
then the piece goes back to the atelier, and they have to finish it.
That's so good. It's like Thierry and his father used to listen to. Well, still do listen to every minute repeater that leaves the factory.
But my brother listens to every minute repeater.
Because you have to. They're so individual. They're so different. That's like the high jewelry is. Every piece is so individual.
And just one other thing, you talked about gold and your ethical gold, but also you're very unique on gold as a brand, as Chopard, because you've got something very special in the basement.
Yeah, well, we since ever, and that was actually my grandfather who started that already in Germany. We have our own gold foundry, so we melt our own gold. So actually the process is that the 24 karat Lango comes in, and then obviously you need to add platinum or copper, whatever color you want, and a bit of silver sometimes, and then you have your 18 karat gold. But it's actually controlling the quality from melting up to the finished piece.
And you do that quite a lot of bringing in external things, but more the gold comes in and then you make it your own. Same with your steel and everything. You've got the best equipment. I mean, I'm mesmerised every time I go around your factory.
And
I've never been to the foundry though.
Oh, Nick, come on.
Have you been?
Yes.
Well, why haven't I been?
You have to come.
Okay.
It's really
very cool.
Yeah, I'd love to see.
Very
it.
interesting.
I mean, I love the posters. I went to the bar in the museum instead.
Oh, yes.
I don't drink, so it could have taken me to the foundry, Caroline. Anyway, where were we?
I'm so pleased. I'm so pleased that Nick's jealous of me.
I'm very
doing something that you
very
haven't
envious
done.
of you. I'm very envious of you.
I wanted to interrupt this episode to actually spend a little bit of time talking to Nick about something that I absolutely love, and I know that a lot of you that are watching this love as well, is his books.
Well, that's very kind of you, George. Thank you.
Nick, this for me is.
The great thing is we don't have a single book in front of us, which is
No.
fantastic. We live in a post-literate society.
Well, it's also the home of horology is going to have the most amazing library of.
You're quite right.
books.
It is. Once that Swiss chap gets back to defending them back. No, I've put together this amazing library of books, and you know, some of them not written by me, which I think is very, very generous of me to allow a shelf space to other authors. Other authors are available.
But Nick, let's run through some of the icon pieces from the Cartier book to.
I've contributed things to Cartier, and no, I mean I hate to sort of. I mean, it's nice that you call them icons. I mean, probably the biggest one so far in terms of size was probably the Impossible collection of watches for Assouline, which was 100 of the watches that you could never own because they've all either mythical or in private collections or whatever.
And that had an icon watch on.
It had the crash on the cover, which predated the kind of current trend for them by quite a few years. And I remember they wanted to put something else on there, and I said, no, it has to be the crash because it's such an emblematic piece. And like a clock, that's a stopped clock, I'm right twice a day, you know?
Well, honestly, that for me was one of those books that if you are a watch collector, it sits in your collection.
And if you want to use it as the foundation for a small garden shed, it's also that size.
Yes, well, it is quite a big book.
There's a lot of it. You get a lot of paper and cardboard for your money.
No, but the other thing is that each watch in there is a reason for them, why, what, how, and that's what I love is your in-depth detail on what.
Well, that's very kind. I mean, I'm not one of those people who will quote you endless serial numbers and cosmetic dial differences. But I think if you take a step back from this kind of very close view of very, very sort of myopic look at it's got a slightly different lettering, or it's got a different hand set or something like that, and actually look at the cultural value of these things. I mean, they are objects of engineering for sure, they are stores of value for sure, they are collectibles, they are investables, if that's a word, but also they are cultural objects. It was one of the great technological breakthroughs of the 20th century was the adoption by many people of the wristwatch, which was a sort of symbol of modernity, in that you didn't, when you were driving a car or piloting an aircraft or whatever, you didn't have to fumble around in your pocket like this and sort of, pull out, get your handkerchief in the way and, pull out, and there'd be a cigar cutter. But no, I mean, imagine there you are piloting your balloon and you delve into your pocket and you find there's no watch but a cigar cutter. But, but into just a simple flick of the wrist. It's a totally different gesture. And I've been interested in them since I was about 11. No, probably younger than that actually. But I like to set them in context. I mean, there's plenty of places where you can look on the internet and in other brilliant books actually, some of which I've used as guides about things like serial numbers, things like minute cosmetic differences. But I like to set it in the context of the times in which they were made, because I don't think you can really understand these objects just in abstraction. So so that's what I tried to do with the Patek book, which had a very good section at the back for the connoisseur, which listed all the production figures and things like that. But I wanted really to look at this company that was this amazing lodestar of excellence that is at the very pinnacle of the industry, and what made it that, how it happened, the ups and the downs, and how it interacted with world events. And I loved the way that these things just, they're a wonderful kind of synthesis of artistic craft, mechanical excellence, and also the sort of concerns of the time. So for example, there's the driving watches, all that kind of thing. The Rolex one I've just done was the same sort of thing, about the Submariner. And it's not intended to be a sort of definitive guide to serial numbers and patents and all of that. It's more of a sort of, I hope, an historical introduction to a very important piece of 20th century engineering. And then start telling stories that haven't really been told before. So I mean, again, I think it's just something that's about context, about history, about how these things came about, because they didn't come about. They weren't invented to be collectibles or, in vestibles. They were invented to meet certain discrete needs. And I think it's exploring the world in which they were born.
Not as a token of wealth, but more of a token of this is to be built for this reason.
Yes, I mean it's like having the latest iPhone. It was something that sort of they were trying out. I mean, the wristwatch. There's a reason all the shapes get changed in about the 20s, because at it was not until 1930 did pocket watches reach parity of sales with. Sorry, did wristwatches reach parity? So 50-50 in 1930. So the wristwatch was the kind of newcomer, and that's why it signified its difference with all these different shapes. I mean, Cartier did the Tonque chinoise, Tonque normale, Tonque cintré, Tonque à guichet, Tonque à bout, Tonque asymétrique. It did all these things in that period because it was the modern thing. And I think that the Submariner book I'm very proud of, because it brings a lot of the characters who contributed to life. I mean, there's so many great stories in it. I really do think that.
Well, look, if you are like me and you want to discover more about this, the link is below for these books. But really, this is such an honor to have Nick talking about these books, because these books are Bibles to a lot of people, and especially me. And so I look at these books and they are the Bibles. So thank you very much, Nick, for kind of sharing a little bit of a backstory on these books.
That's very kind, George. Thank you.
When we're talking about gold, can I jump on to something that is a new launch? That is something I love. Every year, this.
How many years have you been doing the Day of the Dead now?
No, 11 already. My goodness, time flies.
I remember the first one.
That shows you how time passes by.
I remember the first one. So tell me about this one then.
Well, this one actually has a marquetry around the eyes. If you look closely.
Yes, marquetry of what?
It's wood.
No.
That's coloured wood. Wow.
And the gold teeth are gold.
Yeah, and obviously it has the
I thought that was enamel.
The crystal sound is all the Chopard minute repeaters, or the L.U.C minute repeaters, which means the hammer is actually the hammer that normally bangs against gold is banging against crystal. So the sound is much brighter and clearer.
The crystal gong. Should we fire it up?
You can fire it up.
Wow.
It is beautiful. It's very clear. It's got that lovely.
So this is actually it's a one-off. It's a unique piece every year.
Where's this one going?
And this one is going, as the name says, to this.
Is it going to that country? Is it going to Mexico?
To Mexico, to this watch fair, which is actually for watch collectors.
Oh, yeah, that's a good fair, isn't it?
And it's called, yeah.
But it's mesmerising. I was just seeing it in Nick's hands, and
it's very cool.
It's mesmerising how you've done the Day of the Dead each time differently, but it feels.
I think my favourite one was when you had all the musical instruments engraved on the side of the case. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
That was really good. That was so over the top. It was like one of those Indian lorries. Do you know the Indian lorries where they decorate the front with all that kind of stuff? It was like, I loved that watch. That was my favourite Day of the Dead. I mean, this is beautiful, and the sound is amazing. And the finishing.
I was about to say the finishing. Thank you, Nick, for
the finishing. Count the interior angles. No, I mean, Carl Friedrich has done an amazing job, hasn't he? But, I mean, how many people now work at L.U.C. and?
Oh, it's become a big manufacturing. It's over 300.
Because I remember when there were 3 people there.
Yeah, no.
And they're working above a cork factory.
And we also make the in-house automatic movement.
Yes.
For all the happy sports.
In Fleury, all that.
In Fleury, yeah.
And that's a different business again.
Yeah, that's a different.
I mean, that's amazing, and that's not a lot. I mean, watchmaking terms, 27 years is but the blink of an eye, isn't it? And now finally, the sort of the watch community is caught up with the brilliance of, and he can't hide it because he's the most discreet man I know. Is Carl Friedrich. I mean, he'd sort of rather not sell you a watch because the word might get out that he's quite good at what he's doing, you know. But this is the watch that has finally broken his reserve, isn't it? Really?
Yes.
I mean, this was the hot watch, and it's so beautiful.
The 1860, honoring the 1860 foundation of Chopard, but also the start of the manufacture.
And
It's
that
so
thumb
beautiful.
and dial.
The thumb and die is beautiful.
But it is a beautiful salmon dial. There is tons of different salmon dials, and the choice of getting that to that finish, it's a.
Well, you've got so much different. You've got the engine turning. You've got the sub-dials. You've got these beautiful dagger numerals, indices, whatever you want to call them, sword hands. It's fantastic. And again,
And I love the size.
Yes.
and the caliber is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's sort of in the planetary rotor and everything like that. I remember this is a brilliant watch. What's next? What's he going to revive next? Because this is such a superstar, isn't it? Everybody seemed to want that watch.
He is, he's busy in his kitchen, I would say.
Yeah.
I love that you both have your kit.
What's he doing? What's he doing? Gail, what's up? What's up?
No, he just launched, what did he launch in Monastery? Just launched.
Yeah, he didn't ask me. Never asked me to do anything, your brother.
Oh, I don't think so. I think you're always on the priority list.
No.
Because I was traveling in Asia for 3 weeks. So
God, when were you there?
I was in Beijing, Shenzhen, Singapore. I'm like the Asian girl.
Oh,
Was 3 weeks? I mean, that's amazing for you to be 3 weeks in any part of the world.
Well, not in one part.
In one country. How long? I mean, how many different countries did you visit?
4.
God, I'm going to put this watch on.
I'm
That would be
I'm looking at
perfect
Nick's
today.
watch at the moment.
It looks great with what I'm wearing, doesn't it?
I love what you've got here as well.
That's
Very,
good.
very special from two
Yeah,
very special people.
I know, that was rather nice.
I think this is.
And I'm going to be 60 this year. By the time this comes out, I'll be 70 probably. But
Definitely not.
but I mean, look at that.
That is amazing.
God, how distinguished.
Now, one thing I wanted to ask you is Happy Diamonds. How did that start, and what was the? Tell us a little bit of the history, because this is something that I love the idea. It is a happy, wording. It makes you smile. But how did you come up with the idea? What was the?
The idea was actually a gentleman who used to work with us in our German company called Mr. Skorowski, and his background was theater decorations, so making this big decoration, but we hired him to do window decorations. But he was a very good designer, very creative, and he used to love nature, so he was always walking and hiking, and he saw a waterfall, and he saw that if diamonds would move, they would sparkle more, which is the truth. So he participated in a design contest called the Golden Rose in Germany, behind the back of my dad. He didn't know, he didn't ask. He sent in this concept with diamonds going around the movement, not like the Happy Sport where they're completely free. That was me, and he won the prize. So the thing is that once you win the prize, you have to make the watch. So my father found himself in front of this design, having to come up how to make this watch with these diamonds floating around the movement. So it took him some time, and then it got patented. And that was the first Happy Diamonds. That's 1976.
Should be 50 years soon.
76 years, yeah.
Wow.
So soon, yeah.
Yeah.
And then from there came, in the beginning, people were saying, and then we started to be in the Basel Fair also. And then came the first Asian people, and they said, we want to order these watches. So first my father said that who's going to buy a watch with floating diamonds? But it became really the DNA of Chopard. And then me, myself, I started with the jewelry. When I was 16, I drew my first piece of jewelry, the clown. And then,
The clown is still going, isn't he?
and then my dad made me this as a surprise, and with actually this clown, the whole jewelry started.
Wow.
Isn't that brilliant?
That's absolutely amazing.
I mean, you hear it here first.
Yes.
At the Emory, the home of horology.
But at 16,
Yeah.
you know, that you started this journey. So that is absolutely amazing. And to see what you've done is...
But it's one generation. It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, it's like that with L.U.C. I mean, it's sort of happened like that, but without you noticing.
But done with refinement and done with...
And done with fun.
Yes. And
I would add a lot of passion.
Yes, I would agree.
But caring for it. But the other thing is, so then putting it on the dial and having them, they come alive when you
They come
see
alive.
it.
But there were many different iterations.
Especially in the happy sport, because we didn't really have, we had these elegant happy diamond watches, but we didn't have something like steel. So I used to do a lot of sports.
Yeah.
So I wanted something, you know, where I can jump in the pool and play tennis. So I put them in a steel case, the first happy sport. And I said, we cannot put diamonds in steel. I said, why not? Why is it written I can't put diamonds into steel? So that was actually the first steel watch with diamonds.
So questioning the norm.
Yeah,
But also what was interesting is that it started out as a man's watch, didn't it?
yeah. It started out as a men's watch, which is, yeah.
Tell me also, the other thing is you also bought quite a large diamond. Tell us, because you even built a collection, right? Tell us the...
Yeah, well, in our journey to sustainability, we had started with the gold, where we really work with artisanal mines and make sure that the mining is properly done, so no mercury put back into the earth and no kids in the mines, and people get fair salaries so they can also send their kids to school. It started actually off like this, but there's the whole other world out there that we obviously work with, all the gemstones and the diamonds. So I wanted to tell the story of an unusual diamond that I was lucky to buy with a partner from the mine. He called me first, so we got the tender, and it was a 362 carat. It's about this size, like an egg diamond. And then
That's amazing.
Then we did a documentary from the mine, the cutting, the designing, the making of the jewelry to the red carpet. So you have the whole life of that diamond.
Wow.
And it was quite a journey and quite a trip, and I call it the Kalahari collection, because Kalahari is the area in Botswana where the mine is.
Oh my God. And was it quite amazing to see
The mining, yeah.
and journey?
I went there.
Is the mining the sort of big open cast one?
It's a big open cast one.
So how long so you drive in a big truck down to the bottom?
The trucks,
tires.
the tires are about as high as this
No.
room. Yeah, it's crazy.
As high as the
Because you're big
in the Emory.
Because in the Emory, the home of horology.
I stood next to one of the trucks, and I think the tire was double my height.
No.
Yeah, it's
And and George actually has got a side hustle as in earth moving equipment, haven't you?
Thank you, Nick.
No, you do.
But it's quite amazing to go and see the original. So where it's being
Maybe you
made.
could sell a few of those digger trucks. You know?
Down to
down in Botswana.
But
Chopard branded digger trucks. What do you think?
easy.
I mean, why not? That'd be so good. That's a whole new collaboration.
There we go, Nick. That's
JCB meets Chopard. I love that.
That's the ultimate collaboration.
It really is.
But
the happy diamond digger.
something about being happy.
Well, I'm always happy when I see Caroline. It cheers me up. I mean, look at it. Life is pretty shit otherwise sometimes. I mean, but here we are at the Emory, and it's not. It's brilliant.
No, and
The view is amazing.
it's so wonderful to be in London.
At the Emory.
But to actually follow that diamond to the red carpet is probably quite an amazing story as well for other people to see, because it's just that understanding of actually what goes into creating this. And as you said, there is other brands out there that may not have this full. I mean, you guys were one of the first to do this about full traceability, full ethical gold. Before it became cool, I think you were kind of the forefront.
Yeah, we were a little
Maybe I'm
bit
wrong on that.
You were a bit
the
in the forefront.
pioneers.
You were a bit in the forefront of that, and it served you very well, I think.
Yes. And And actually, talking about ethical gold, we use L.U.C steel, which is also sourced more ethically, and it's actually a much harder steel than the normal steel. And it comes from Austria, this steel, so it's also not costing too much.
A long way to go.
The long way to go, because that's also part of the
taxi almost in
Yeah.
Switzerland. We'll get over. You would cycle. I know you would cycle. You would cycle in probably 20 minutes.
I think we both probably would have.
I mean, I fell off the damn thing so many times I had to give it up.
I do remember that. Now, tell me, there is also stone dials as well, and
This I love. You know, this is my period. You're
one?
making my period here.
This is the malachite dial. Actually, the movement of this is the Heure de Diamant collection, and it's inspired by some of the museum pieces, which actually were made at the time in Germany. So you have again the setting that
Because Pforzheim was
stocking-proof setting.
Because it was a big stone cutting centre, wasn't it, Pforzheim?
Yeah, and the movement is not bigger than a coin.
Let's have a look at the movement. It's fantastic.
It's hand winding with a very large power reserve.
but also
It's beautiful.
the bracelet on it is.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I love. It's this.
Bark, would it be?
I would say bark, but it's so good because it's sort of, and then you
It's
think,
very
and then,
soft
and
bracelet.
then the links kind of appear. It's magical.
And it's amazing to see from this angle. So I'm seeing from this angle as well, because you see inside, you see the articulation. But when the external, when it's on your wrist, it just.
Yeah.
It's almost as beautiful on the reverse side. Actually.
It really is. What's great is seeing watches in Nick's hands, because you can see a different angle on it, but it is absolutely amazing. And that's also your idea of this skeleton of holding the diamonds. You've made a case become jewellery through the angle of it, similar to your red carpet piece.
Let's try it. Let's try and see if it catches on my coat. No, it doesn't. My coat, my trouser leg. Okay, so now what are we talking about next?
Well,
This one. What is this one, Caroline?
This one is another of Carl
Our
Frederick's
Friedrich's inventions.
babies from the L.U.C collection.
now just one other thing.
I'm lucky enough to have this one.
That's beautiful. This is beautiful.
I
I mean-
love when you just said that you stole it off someone's desk before. So I kind of love that you've done a brother-sister scenario on it. But tell me, the Alpine Eagle as well, because you wear a beautiful pink dial.
Yeah, the jasmine
I think
dial.
your brother was actually quite worried you were selling too many of them at one point. Genuinely.
It basically told me to take it off
Yeah.
because we
People were
couldn't.
buying it.
The turquoise one, which I love.
Yes.
So he gave me this one instead. But
Let's try it on. Let's try it on.
I love that color, and I love
the watch.
the mix of the steel. Obviously, this is also the L.U.C steel, and
I had the chance to wear. I hadn't
has
chance to wear
our
one for a while, and it was
automatic.
amazing.
I take your word.
Yeah, you better do that. I got dexterity of it.
No.
Oh,
And you
okay.
know it's called Alpine Eagle because it actually is.
Made with
he-
eagles.
No, it's not made of eagle. But my
I
brother
can't get
is.
you touch baby wrists.
My brother is helping the Eagle Foundation,
Oh,
and because they are in
Imperiled, I suppose.
they're disappearing from the planet. So, and that's why the dial has that special look. It's the iris of the eagle, from the eye.
But this is a particularly nice color.
it's a stunning.
When did this one come out?
This year in Basel,
It's great.
and I'm still
In
saying
Basel, otherwise known as Geneva.
in Geneva.
But
Well, we can still refer to it.
I'm still
I-
every time I'm thinking watch fair, I'm still thinking of Basel.
I think of Basel, and then I also think of SIHH.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. It shows my age.
it's
Basel Mr. Messer, whatever it is called.
and I know that you're missing the sausages at Basel.
Yeah.
But the dials on each of these watches is unreal. And when you say about the wood in
The
in
dial is the face of. It's the face of the watch. It's like the face of a person. In fact, it's very important. I mean, and a millimeter makes it different. Like you said, the shade in the salmon one. There's I don't know how many shades of salmon, like you said. But to pick the right one,
I mean, that dial here is amazing.
It's the love to the details.
No, but it is, and that's what Chopard is about, is this detail.
But what's interesting also is that you have here a very good, what do they call it in the industry, a tractor, isn't it? The movement. I mean, it's a really great in-house caliber. There's a really solid workman-like one that's as excellent in its own way as these are so high-end.
But it's also, you know, the finishing as well.
Yeah.
You know, the multifaceted finishing.
But this is amazing because you're also an independent company, aren't you?
Yep.
And what does that give you that you don't get elsewhere?
Well,
What?
freedom.
Freedom is good. It's a good start.
Liberty.
Good start.
I think we can adapt very quickly to different situations in the world.
Yes.
And I think there's a family behind, so obviously we're responsible for our employees, and we don't just, you know, lay off 200 people in a minute, like other companies.
Which at the moment is a bit of a, I mean, it's not the easiest of times, is it?
So,
but I mean, it's quite impressive that when you think about it, at scale, there aren't so many. I'm trying to think of any actually. You got a lot of the independents, and then Patek is obviously independent. Rolex is independent in a way.
Rolex in a way is a foundation.
Yeah, but
they're independent, you're right.
But then, in
I
terms
think
of
you were saying Patek. I think it's Patek and Chopard.
Audemars, of course, Audemars.
Oh yes.
Anyway, who else?
No, Nick.
The view is better.
Put some comments after this.
Yes, but only nice comments. Only nice comments. We've got to go now because we're being told to wrap it up.
I think.
So last words,
I
Caroline.
think Chopard is very unique because the other two you mentioned, they only make watches.
Yeah.
It's not watches and jewelry. So that,
And also you, with desirability on both sides, because often the jeweler tries to make watches and doesn't do very well, and not often, but sometimes you get watchmakers trying to get into jewelry and it just doesn't happen. Caroline, thank you so much for coming to the Home of Horology. What a great episode that was.
Really, that was spectacular.
And you know, the great thing was that where we did it.
The Home of Horology.
Yes, the Home of Horology. You said it.
Emory. But we really are. That was truly amazing. And you know, we're here because of you. So thank you for liking, subscribing, and showing the love for After Hours and Nick and I.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.